Today on the DML News Podcast, Donald J. Trump defies a judge's order, and he says that Joe Biden's pardons mean nothing. We've got these stories and so much more, so get ready because it's Monday and we're all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny, and on the controls, my son, Ryan. We are here as we are every single day, Monday to Friday anyway, and we are bringing to you all the information that you need to know about what's happening with Trump, his administration, Make America Great Again, and of course, the resistance, the people who try to make that not happen. We report that to you every single day on 47report.com. That's 47report.com. You go there, you put in your email address. The next day, you become the most smartest person in the world because you have the Lynch family delivering you the most accurate, factual information on planet Earth. It's really the way it comes down to. We get every single day people come in and say, "Why am I not seeing this anywhere else?" But because on your newsletter. If I didn't have your newsletter, how would I know this stuff? And that's the way the media works. It's the way the media works. In fact, the media is so despicable. In a few seconds here, Ryan's going to throw something up from the AP, and it's going to reflect what my monologue will be. But go to 47report.com, put in your email address. I never sell it. I never give it away. It's just us. Every single day before 7 a.m. Eastern, you're going to get the 47 Report newsletter. Then, as a bonus, sort of like the sugar on top, at 5 p.m. each day, Monday to Friday, you're going to wind up getting the DML report, which is a small op-ed where I take the biggest topics of the day and I explain it to you in a granular sort of way that only I can. So you get 2 for 1, and it's all for free. 47report.com. Okay, we're going to start off. I got to get my glasses on here because I got to read this. It's unbelievable. It is just unbelievable. Hold on one second. Let me get this up. I sent it to my friends. I have 3 friends who are legal immigrants. They're all green card holders. And I said to them, I am outraged that this was the post. Put it up, Ryan. So here is, I'm checking my email this morning, talk about newsletters. This is what comes in from the Associated Press. It has a picture of gang members all on the floor in a prison. And then it says, headline, Trump administration deports hundreds of immigrants, even as a judge orders their removals be stopped. Immigrants. The people that you're looking at on the floor are illegal aliens who are in the United States of America and who are connected to the most dangerous gangs in the world, some of them named as terrorist organizations. An immigrant is the way that the AP is going to position this because it hates Trump. I wrote to my 3 friends, I sent that headline and I wrote, it is an outrage that the AP would group terrorist gang members in the United States illegally with honest people like yourselves. Referring to these people as immigrants is why people hate the media. And it was like I was apologizing to my 3 friends because they're all hardworking, honest people. In fact, I say it all the time. My 2 best friends here in Florida, since I moved here 4 years ago, we moved here not knowing anyone, nobody. Now, since then, my best friend from childhood has moved to Florida. But prior to that, I knew not a single person here with any friends. I have made a nice group of friends, and the 2 best friends that I have are both green card holders. One from South Africa and one from Canada. And to think that you're going to group my 2 buddies and my one buddy's wife, who's also from Canada, who happens to be Mary's best friend here in Florida, to group them with people who are gangbangers, who have killed, raped, sell drugs, just do the most atrocious things to other human beings that you could ever imagine. It is such a grotesque abuse of the power that the media has. The AP, just to remind you, was kicked out of Air Force One and kicked out of the pressers that Trump was holding in the Oval Office because it defied the president's orders that Gulf of Mexico is no longer that. It is called Gulf of America, and it has been acknowledged by Google Maps. It's been acknowledged by everybody else except for the AP. They said, we're not going to do it. And so here they are making what is, by all means, a fake headline. It annoys me to no end. Even here, my sons, sometimes they make the mistake. On our newsletter, it will say, Trump deported 25 illegal immigrants. No. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. There is a legal immigrant or an illegal alien. And that is an actual phrase used by the Supreme Court of America. It is the legal phrase. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing derogatory about it. It's not the equivalent of the N-word. Please stop it. If you are a legal alien, you are legal. You are legally an alien, or you are an illegal alien. But regardless, that's the headline. Now, I want to put into perspective for you what the AP is so outraged about. Because, see, they frame it as Trump defies the judge's order. Like the judge gave an order to Trump, and Trump just said, you know what? The hell with you. You're an appointed Obama judge, which this judge was. I'm not going to listen to you. It's not what happened. Here are the facts and what it is that you need to tell your liberal AP neighbors. The President of the United States initiated an old Wars Act back in, I think it was like 1780 something or another. Dennis will give me the details. And his War Act says that if you're at war with any particular nation and their peoples are in your country, you can deport them back without a court trial or anything else of that nature. And that's the big problem here in the United States, is that if you're going to start doing mass deportations, these illegals have to have their so-called day in court, which is just absolutely ridiculous. That's why you always hear me call for self-deportation. We have to smoke these people out, because in doing so, we don't have to pay for their deportation and we don't have to wait for some liberal crazy judge. So what happens? These flights are taking off to El Salvador. These scum from the Venezuelan TDA and from MS-13 are going to be deported by President Trump. So they're on planes and they go. The judge, who gets this emergency order from the ACLU, takes a look at this and says, nope, Trump is not allowed to send these people out. That's it. Got to come back. They've got to have their day in court. What? Due process for gang members who kill? Are we kidding? Now, here's the problem with the judge's order. The flights were already in motion and they were over international waters. Therefore, the judge's entire stay, if you will, has absolutely no power. And so what happened? We rid ourselves of some very, very dangerously bad people. Ryan is going to start playing a what we call B-roll here. This is where you don't hear it, but you'll see it as I'm speaking. And Dennis is going to get up the more details on this actual deportation, what happened. But in this video, what you're seeing is some of the worst human beings on the face of the earth actually being treated like the worst human beings on the face of the earth. And they are going to one of the greatest prisons ever built in the world. It's in El Salvador, of all places. And these gang members are never getting out. It's like the Roach Motel. Now, to think that any judge in the United States of America, let alone any group, including the ACLU, to think that any judge in America, regardless of who appointed them, would say, bring back these terrorists so they can have their due process, is absolutely insane. And this is why I say all the time that liberalism is indeed a disease. It's not normal. Anybody who is liberal and thinks that we should be taking the people that you see in that video back to the United States of America is not well. There's no other way of shaping it. They're just not well. And yet it's unbelievable how all of these judges somehow have more power than the President of the United States of America. You know, it's one thing when we take these issues to the Supreme Court and we lay it out in front of 9 justices. Now, based on the numbers, we should be kicking ass 6-3 all the time and everything that goes to these judges. But it's not the truth. It doesn't happen. We've got 2 fake conservatives on there. Amy Coney Barrett has proven time and time again she's more liberal than she is a conservative, and John Roberts is long gone. So really what it is a 4-3-2. You've got 4 conservatives, 3 radical liberals, and 2 people who are independents. I'll even give that much to Roberts and to Comey. Independents with a bent to the left. You want to put that in front of 9 people? I'll accept that a little bit more. I mean, if we wound up getting a 5-4 ruling, you know, John Roberts and what's-her-face, Coney Barrett, go over with the liberals and say, yeah, bring back some terrorists, I'll still be sitting here shaking my head. But why are we putting these big, huge decisions in one person's lap? And it's always a judge. Why does it feel like it's always almost a judge every single time that was either put in there by Clinton, Obama, or Biden? There's no way these people are playing ideology. They're not playing with Lady Justice. Trump defied the orders? I don't know. Maybe the plane was 4 inches off the tropic line of where it goes from the United States into international waters. I have no idea. If I were Trump, that's what I would tell the judge. In fact, I'll be even more transparent. If I were the president and the plane was sitting on the tarmac at Dulles, I'd say send it. And if that judge doesn't like it, have him come over for lunch. We're going to tell him that the plane was an international flight at that given time, and nothing I could do about it, sir, but maybe next time we'll be a little bit more prejudiced in our thinking. What is wrong with these judges? What is wrong with the Democrats? I'm going to play another video here before I bring in Dennis. I want to give you all a reminder of something. It wasn't until Barack Insane Obama came into this picture that we call the United States of America and led this country into a rat hole. When you used to listen to Joe Biden speak about illegal immigration, or Bill Clinton for that matter, they sounded just like Trump. No joke. And then the most radical one that we can't stand the most on the skirt side of things is Hillary Clinton. I'm going to play a clip for you right now on how Hillary Clinton, just a few years ago, spoke about illegal aliens in this country versus how it is that all the Democrats are talking today. Ryan, play the clip.
So I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes, and you have to try to learn English, and you have to wait in line.
You have to try to learn English? No, you need to learn English. That's it. But I mean, there's Hillary Clinton, Dennis. You know, back in her heyday, before it was fashionable to hate everything that Trump stands for, including the things that are just basic principles in the United States, something has happened to the left ever since Barack Obama, the courts as well. I can't put my finger on it exactly. It may be that we've just taken in too many people in this country from overseas. I don't know what it is, but definitely the United States has a big, huge section of it that is beyond woke.
Yeah, well, when you see a clip like that, right? I mean, you can find that with Barack Obama, even a Chuck Schumer, for example. I mean, we played some flashbacks of them talking about cutting wasteful spending last week, and now all of a sudden, you know, touching wasteful spending is you know, a sin on the Democrat side. So it's kind of funny watching basically them flip almost into a complete 180, and it just goes to show. And we've reported it on the 47 report, I think, in the resistance section. They are at, meaning the Democrats, an all-time low with their image and popularity. And obviously the main point is that they have no messaging. I mean, everything is woke. Everything has to be to the extreme. No Democrat voted against the idea that maybe men shouldn't be in women's sports. So when you have these very out of the box radical ideas that no one in America on a mainstream level wants to get behind, especially parents or those that are just rational, hardworking, tax-paying everyday Americans, you don't have a connection. So in a way, you really only can turn to the Republican Party at this point, because if you wanted the Democrats to be the party of the working class, they're just too far removed, and you're not going to get people like Gavin Newsom to just make a 180 on that image, especially when you have old clips like that, like Hillary Clinton, and you have two comparisons there. I mean, that is no longer the Democrat Party.
I mean, if you put it all together between the AP, right?
Mm-hmm.
The AP's hideous, misleading headline. I mean, I you know, if I were post something like that up on Facebook, but to the reverse, they take it down, I'd be fact checked. But it's AP. And is anybody at Facebook right now fact checking that? Is anybody?
No,
Are we checking that? Because it really isn't immigrants. I mean, if we're going to be factual, let's be factual. You can't draw lines. You can't split hairs between what you want to call a fact and what you don't. Okay? But if you look at the AP, you mix together the AP, the courts, and the way that the liberals have completely changed their messaging about everything, you can understand why it is that the country is so divided. Because there's those of us who still remain principled like we always have been. We're the same people we were 8 years ago, 16 years ago. You know, you play a clip of me, and you didn't have clips 16 years ago, but you play a clip of me 16 years ago, 8 years ago, and you play my clip now, I am going to sound like the same guy every single time. And the proof is pudding. If you go back and look at when I was promoting They Come to America 1, it was about 16 years ago, maybe 17 years ago. If you only had the audio, right? Because the visuals, you'll see that I'm an older looking guy now. But if you just look at the audio and just listen with your eyes closed, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that was DML's monologue last week. No, that was DML 17 years ago. So we have all stayed consistent because we are a rational brain. The Democrats will float in any direction possible just to make it as if Trump is a monster. There was another clip we're going to get ready here. Hold on one second. There's another clip that we're going to get ready here, and that is of Jasmine Crockett. We'll talk about how it is that they all changed their tune. But what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say it's Jasmine Crockett. I think she's on CNN, and basically kind of what you laid out, the messaging is just lost.
Yeah, so, you know, Dennis had brought up 2 seconds ago about how the whole thing with Chuck Schumer. So Chuck Schumer takes this reverse attitude, right, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, all of a sudden, he's like, hey, we had to get in line with Trump for this spending. It would hurt us otherwise. All the lefty radicals are going absolutely bonkers on this. And that was the whole weekend. The whole weekend was Democrats getting up on social media and on the Sunday, Saturday shows and talking about how Chuck Schumer is so out of touch. And in many different cases, the news commentary was, should we get rid of Schumer? The Democrats need to get rid of Schumer. And this is a conversation we're about to play here. Is Jake Tapper from CNN asking that very question to Jasmine Crockett. Now, keep in mind something. I'm going to kind of give a little bit of what's going to come before it comes. But I just want to set people's brains. Think about how she doesn't answer the question because she's too afraid to answer the question because she doesn't want to go against Chuck Schumer. Just keep that in mind. But then, toward the end of it, listen to the fear-mongering that she leads, which is so anti-Trump without even ever saying his name. Play it.
You're close with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Some of your fellow House Democrats say, and not just progressives, by the way, we've heard that moderates have said this too, that they're ready to support her to challenge Chuck Schumer in a Democratic primary. Would you get behind that?
That's 4 years from now. If you were asking me at least in 2 years, then I would have an absolute answer. But I can tell you that there are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment. We don't even know what elections will look like in 4 years if we will have elections. And so I definitely think that younger, fresher leadership may be something that many of us, not just depending on what part of the spectrum you're on, but many Americans may be looking for, especially in the state of New York.
So she says if we don't even know if we'll have an election 4 years from now, which is to indicate that somehow Donald J. Trump is going to say, hey, by the way, we're not going to have any elections. I'm going to stay president forever and ever. And like that's going to be allowed to happen.
Yeah, he didn't do that his first term. If anything, there was more sketchiness coming from the Democrat side there with 2020. So, and she's an interesting case where she really likes to play the card of how she likes to talk. It's like on CNN, she'll simmer it down, but when she's doing one of her TikToks, the ghetto kind of comes out of her.
Oh yeah,
and yet she doesn't even actually have like a hard background from her upbringing. But it's very clear that they're trying to make Crockett here, along with an AOC, as like the new face of the upcoming resistant Democrat Party, and I just think it's not sticking or working for anyone. If anything, it's kind of indicating for the first time in a while they are out of lockstep, right? I mean, you got AOC losing her mind about Schumer making the 180 on supporting the bill. So we've been so used to how they can kind of unify together as a team,
right.
And yet you kind of have them now with the old Democrats and the newer ones really not meshing on the same page anymore. Although they still have the anti-Trump message loud and clear as much as they can.
Oh, they have to have the anti-Trump message. It's the only thing that they're running on, Dennis. There's absolutely nothing else that they have. There's nothing else that they're doing. I mean, look what Trump just did over the weekend. He's playing golf in one of his tournaments, and at the end of the golf, he walks off in his golf attire, and he winds up launching out against the terrorists who are basically backed by Iran and Hezbollah. And he does amazing airstrikes. I don't think we cut any of the clips for this, right? I mean, it's just rockets blowing things up, right?
Right.
But I mean, think about this. I mean, how can you not get behind that?
Well, I look, I mean, he didn't really ever get pictures of Biden, coming off the golf course and like, trying to be attentive. I mean, Trump is the kind of guy who literally does it all. He could go win a championship, and he won that championship. And then he can also, handle a Middle Eastern conflict. I mean, I know we reported it in the 47 report, but a very giant controversy surrounding Biden right now is this autopen.
Oh, goodness.
About how, was he really the one who was giving the signatures, or was it, someone on the staff or some other official who kind of just took the little robotic pen to sign it in Biden's style?
The details on that. There's a thing called the Oversight Project, and it's part of the Heritage Foundation, which is a very conservative think tank in Washington, D.C. They did an analysis of all these different things that Joe Biden allegedly signed, and they see that it's the auto pen. So the question is Joe Biden of a cognizant head when he's signing these things, or did he not sign them, didn't even know that it was being signed, and these other people in the White House, the radicals who were basically running the White House, are the ones who put his name on this. One of the things, and Trump put out a message about this, one of the things were all these pardons. The pardon for Fauci, the pardon for General Milley, the pardon for all the J6 committee, all 9 of them.
Liz Cheney's on that.
Liz Cheney, Adam Zinginger, all those. Was that really Biden? So what Trump has done is he's declared, I'm going to read this straight from, this was the big story out of the 47 report this morning. President Trump has declared that pardons issued by Joe Biden in his final hours in office are void, vacant, and no further force of effect, arguing that they were signed using an auto pen without Biden's direct approval or knowledge. These pardons include, and I just mentioned all the people, Trump's claim, posted on Truth Social, suggests that the use of an auto pen, a device replicating signatures, invalidates the pardons, opening the door to legal scrutiny and potential investigations of those pardoned by the Trump DOJ. Now, I love this. I mean, who doesn't love it? Because we all sat there and said, this is ridiculous. You just put Trump on trial for basic jaywalking. Going to put him in jail for the rest of his life. Raid his house at Mar-a-Lago. The list is long. Making him pay gargantuan amounts of money that he doesn't even have in the bank, trying to do everything you can for jaywalking. And these people here, who questionably, Fauci alone, what he did to the country, let alone the world, you're not going to at least have him go up on the stand? And why do they need pardons if they didn't commit crimes? Who does that? It's like me saying to you, Dennis, I forgive you. And you say, for what? I didn't do anything wrong. Well, sooner or later, we're going to find out something you did wrong. This is what we're talking about. And so now he's going to remove that. The problem he's going to have is this is going to be taken to court. And I don't know whether or not the Supreme Court will back Trump on this because Trump himself uses the autopen. All presidents use the autopen. So it really depends. And you know what's going to happen with Biden, Dennis. He's going to come out and say, yes, I did know what I was signing. And there you go. It's over.
Yeah. The obvious issue is that even if Trump's using the autopen, he has the awareness of which executive orders are being implemented, which, pardons are being implemented. The real question is obviously if there were 20 executive orders lined up for Biden, was he aware of all 20 or only 15 and 5 got away with it because they knew, Biden would have the mental capacity to remember if he addressed that kind of order. So including with the pardons, I'm sure towards the ending months of Biden's presidency, that autopen was probably used for various degrees that he wasn't privy to, or not fully on every detail privy to.
There's no doubt. And so what's going to happen is ultimately his word is going to be what's taken.
We think this is the same man that couldn't get through a debate or reading the teleprompter. I think the idea that he was going with all these documents, even if he was just being relayed to it for the autopen, something tells me he wasn't fully in command of those decisions.
Well, you know it and I know it. And even if he wasn't in full command, if they just went up to him and said, if Jill said to him, hey, listen, by the way, we want to let all those great people in the J6 committee that tried to get Trump, but, obviously the courts were in his favor. We just want to give them a pardon. Are you cool with that? And he's like, what did you ask? Do you want more ice cream? Yes, of course. And there you go. There was the answer, right? So that Trump is not going to Trump's effort here, although courageous, I don't think holds a snowball's chance in hell.
Yeah.
But a couple of little things that we should go bounce back and forth with on the DML. I'm sorry, on the 47 report. So many interesting things. First of all, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is not going to go to the Correspondents Association dinner, which is it's a roast, if you will. All right. I've been to one back when I had my Newsmax days, and every single member of the press is there. And they have a comedian up there, and the president gets up there, and it's time for the president to kind of make jokes back at the members of the press because, they poke at him all year long. This is the famous dinner where Obama got up and said, Donald Trump's going to be president. And he started making jokes about Trump and Apprentice and Gary Busey. And he did it really abusive to Trump, and Trump just sat there. And this was right after Trump had come out with the Bertha, trying to claim that that Obama wasn't born in America. And he may have been right as far as I'm concerned. But regardless, and that day there, you saw Trump's face, and it was like you knew he was going to run for president. That same dinner, the White House is saying to the press, screw you, we don't acknowledge you anymore.
Yeah, I think it's good that he's skipping it, and same with Leavitt, just because it's supposed to be an event that does have the jokes, but supposed to be an acknowledgement of the presidency with the media's relationship.
Yeah,
and they never treat him fairly. And Trump this time around doesn't want to mess around. So, like for example, he ordered the dismantling of Voice of America and its parent agency, the U.S. Agency for Global Media, over biased reporting. Now, the one thing I kind of feel bad about. Carrie Lake seems like she just can't catch a break. First it was governor, then senator. Then she got appointed to be kind of the leader of VOA, Voice of America. From what it seems like, though, she still remains a special advisor, but it seems like her role with that is going to be kind of minimal. She called it unsalvageable, meaning like it's so corrupt that, can you really reform something of that nature?
But, think about how patriotic that is in various different ways. First of all, she's not going to be the only one. McMahon, the Department of Education, she's basically been hired to fire herself. And that's what Carrie Lake is. Carrie Lake has been hired to fire herself. And so that takes a very strong person who says, all right, I understand you want me to go in, really look this thing over, see if it could be saved. If it can be saved, fine. If it can't be saved, we're going to dismantle it. Trust me when I tell you, Trump is loyal to those who are loyal to him when it comes to politics. And so Carrie Lake will wind up getting awarded somehow, some way for what she's doing here. And I think it's encouraging that Trump and Elon Musk and now all the people around are continuing to rally behind this smaller government narrative, because that's what basically everybody wants. Mm-hmm. Now, something else everybody wants, and it's been a little bit of a disappointment, is people want the Epstein list. They want to see who's on that Epstein list. The things that have come out so far have been sort of, who cares? And now President Trump has announced that the recordings, whatever that means, of Jeffrey Epstein, JFK murder, Martin Luther King Jr. murder, and Robert F. Kennedy murder are going to be released in the coming weeks. That would be a good thing, because right now, if there's one little fire that's brewing in Washington, D.C., it's that it appears, at least from the headlines anyway, and that when you can't get these lists like we were supposed to, that AG Pam Bondi and Kash Patel over at the FBI are not like peanut butter and jelly right now. And so everybody expected that we were going to put these people in place, and Dan Bongino's first day starts today at the FBI. So, everybody's expectation is that these truth tellers who have been rallied behind, I mean, I can't think of three names that go beyond those three in terms of support from the Make America Great Again movement. And people have said, oh my God, Dan Bongino, I want him in the FBI. Kash Patel, he'd be the best FBI director ever. Pam Bondi, nobody's getting past her. Okay, well, with all defense to Dan, he just got there today and unpacking his bag. Where are the Epstein files? Because what you've given us so far is garbage.
It is. I hope that they follow through on this this time around. And I get it. Every situation is going to come with its hiccups. I mean, the hopefulness that everyone has regarding Russia and Ukraine to end. I mean, just even from the 47 report here, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, he's been kind of the point man for those negotiations. He went to Moscow last week, end of last week, talked to Putin. Putin is kind of just inching his way there towards a deal of some kind. His main issue was that if we do a ceasefire, that gives Ukraine time to kind of build back up their army. So I think what's ultimately going to happen is that it's going to just come down to Ukraine is going to get maybe about 10 to 15% of what it would like out of that deal, which at this point they are the losing side. It's kind of what's going to happen. And it'll be no NATO membership, get Zelensky out of there with an election. And maybe hopefully we could see by the summer, some kind of resolution that's, going to take forward with ending that war. Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, look, Trump said he was going to end it in a day. That was hyperbole. We all knew it, but it was a metaphor. And that's what I've said to anybody who says, oh, he said he was going to end it in a day. I said, look, it's just like, it's like me. How many times have I said, listen, if I were the president of the United States, I'd be able to fix illegal immigration on day one. That is a metaphor to mean it's not going to be hard for me like it is for the existing guy. So sometimes the worst thing in the world is how it is that the media is going to take every word you say verbatim and not put it into context in which it is the way that you're trying to say it. But we are definitely getting further along with Trump in there than we did with Biden when it comes to the war between those two countries. I mean, personally, I just say, let's tap out. We don't need to be involved in this at all. As you say all the time, and I say all the time, our real war is at our southern border. And although we seem to be winning it in the last 2 months, we have a much bigger war than we recognize, because here's the thing. Until the drugs on the street double or triple in price, there's a lot of drugs on the street. So when you see those drugs start to skyrocket in terms of what they cost, that means that we're really stopping things at the border.
Well, I think a big thing that Trump has definitely accomplished here that Biden really failed to do is the Elon Musk relationship. Even besides Doge, because we always talk about what they're doing with the spending and slashing, but like a big thing over the weekend was, and we had in the 47, they started sending, or they did already. They sent up the SpaceX capsule to get those stranded astronauts down, who probably could have been brought down a lot earlier if Biden didn't delay it for political purposes, which like the admission has been there from that case. So I mean, like, when you have Elon Musk, who was willing to work with the Biden administration, but they outcasted him because difference of opinion, it's ridiculous. But I think that there's clearly a beneficial relationship with Trump and Musk being able to accomplish some of the big things that Musk can do with his other companies. And even with SpaceX, I mean, he's kind of giving the timeline here that he thinks by the end of Trump's presidency that we'll be shooting up rockets to Mars. You know?
I mean, look, if there's criticism, because there's always criticism, if there's criticism from the other side, it's like, hey, in fact, there was a viral video that went around the weekend, and a bunch of my friends absolutely found it to be like, you got to be kidding me, right? We're focused on Mars. And I said, no, Trump isn't focused on Mars. There's a video of 3 black guys making a skit. One is Trump, one is Elon Musk, and I can't remember who the other one is, but they're maybe JD Vance. And they're sitting there saying that, hey, we're not worried about healthcare. Hey, we're not worried about the economy. We're worried about getting to Mars. I said, listen, if you're a basketball player, you can dribble and walk at the same time, right? You have to be able to do two things at the same time. Why is it that this president can't be forward-looking and at the same time working on what's in front of him? And so the criticism's there because we're thinking bigger and we're thinking, further out. That doesn't mean that we're not looking at what is right in front of us. Clearly, Trump is looking at what's in front of him. Look what he just did with these Venezuelan terrorists, as far as we're concerned. He's not pushing things off because he's interested in Mars. Now, with that said, one of the things that has been a heavy-hitting thing to most of us, and we talked about it largely last week, was the stuff with the tariffs, was the stuff with the economy. And from what I'm hearing, we're going to hear a lot about the economy this week from President Trump. So hopefully it's some good news.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know everyone at the beginning of every week, I think everyone's kind of on their toes of like, okay, who gets hit with the tariff this week? Who gets hit with the tariff next week? But if he's got some big announcements coming in the pipeline, I mean, that would be very fantastic and beneficial.
Well, look, the White House absolutely knows where people's pain is.
Yeah.
And they read the headlines and they see what is being said. And so, Trump is doing what he has to do to try to make America great again. And so far, I think he's doing a pretty good job. There are some people who don't think he's doing such a great job. And we played a video over the weekend on our website showing Trump getting hit in the face with a microphone during a press conference. Now, I've held those microphones before. And there is a certain science to them. So I will say it is not the easiest job in the world. It is also not easy when you're standing outside and there's some wind because it's a long pole, and at the long pole is the end of this furry microphone, and you have to have a decent level of perception to depth and everything else to see where it is that you're moving this microphone. However, with that said, if you're getting dangerously close to the person who is going to be speaking into that microphone. I wish we had the video. I forgot to tell you to cut it. But in this, everybody's seen it by now. It's all over the place. In the video, the woman holding the microphone actually hits Trump in the face with the microphone, and Trump gives her a look and then rolls his eyes. And Dennis has put here in the 47 report, we learned that the person who struck Trump in the face with the microphone wasn't from the Daily Caller, wasn't from Fox News, wasn't from Breitbart or The Blaze. Nope, it was from NPR, one of the top liberal outlets you can imagine, who, by the way, is being at risk having their funding taken away from the U.S. government. And this person is also an LGBTQ advocate who once suggested Trump has ties to white supremacy. So I don't know about you, Dennis, but I've held those microphones before, and I have never hit anybody in the face, and I've been in some pretty dangerous and wild situations with those microphones.
Yeah, well, as soon as this lady got identified, she locked her X account because she had a ton of anti-Trump posts. So,
of course,
this is definitely a clear indication of she probably had the opportunity to do it. But look, it's like, okay, she should lose her, press corps badge and should be reprimanded. But I mean, she should be investigated. What if that was laced with something and it hit him in the face? That's the thing. You're supposed to have journalistic integrity, even if you don't agree with the man you're, covering. But that's kind of, if I was Secret Service, I would be removing that lady and then saying you're never allowed to be anywhere near the president ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, you just lost all privilege of even being in vicinity of his location.
It's very interesting that you said that, laced with something. I mean, somebody may not understand what you're talking about, but I mean, you could, this person would obviously be going to jail for the rest of their lives. But I mean, if somebody was that demonic, the equipment, I've been in this space before. So if you're going to interview the president, everything is going to wind up being checked. Every bag is going to be checked. But nobody's putting anything on the actual equipment to see whether or not there's anything in it. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to put a gun inside a camera, and you just take the lens and the lens pops off, put a gun in it, you're going to get through it, no problem, especially if somebody knows you visually or whatever, you'll get through. But if you take it down a step where it wouldn't be so dramatic, those microphones are fuzzy. All right. So you look at them, they've got the gray. But I mean, if you put it against you, it's almost like being against a fur coat. But periodically, you'll wind up having little wires because the softness of that microphone. And the reason why it looks so fuzzy like that is because that's a wind conductor. It slows the wind down. The wind doesn't go through that. But if you were to actually slip that down, you would see the little wires that are coming out. And so I've had them plenty of times where you grab them with your hand, you're like, God damn it, and the little wire's out. I mean, that could have hit him in the eye, could have done a lot of different stuff. So it's the responsibility of the press. You're dealing with the president. You can't get on top of him. You got to move back. That woman should absolutely be removed from that position, especially with the comments that she has made in the past. Last word goes to you before we sign off.
I mean, if Trump had moved his face in a certain way, could have poked his eye, and the last thing Trump needs is to deal with an eye injury while he's got all these fires to burn out. I think, truthfully, if I was head of Secret Service, I would have maybe even made a show of it. The cameras are rolling, go into the crowd, take her out. It doesn't have to be dramatic arrest, but say remove. You're clearly not prepared to be around the president of the United States.
And if the AP was to write a headline about it, they would say Trump walks into microphone, blames reporter. That's really what it would be, right?
Yeah.
He walked into the microphone.
I mean, me and Ryan just joked yesterday how you literally go on the Google Maps app and it says Gulf of America. So for the AP to die out on this hill that it needs to be the Gulf of Mexico, it's why I can't take them or NPR with this crazy lady with the boom mic seriously at all.
No.
I just, again, no one I think is feeling bad when Caroline Leavitt slashes the press badges to these people.
Media Matters is a group that is paid for by George Soros, and their whole job is to go out and tell lies about the right-wing media, if you want to call it that. And they just posted a thing over the weekend about the biggest names in conservative media. The largest name in conservative media, Joe Rogan. Wait a second. Whoa, Joe Rogan's conservative? Since when? He was a Bernie Sanders supporter. I mean, when is Joe Rogan? Why? Because he interviewed Trump? Now he's MAGA? Why? Because he calls out ridiculous people like Gavin Newsom? Now he's MAGA? He's not MAGA. Why? Because he got invited to inauguration. He went. And how many other lefties went to that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I wouldn't call Zuckerberg MAGA.
No, Sam Altman. I mean, as liberal as they come, he's donating to Democrats. He was at the White House to work with Trump. So I mean, this is the sort of crap that we have to deal with on a day in and day out basis. But here's the thing: you look at the AP, you look at Truth Reporting on what's going on. You look at 47report.com, which is the most dynamic, most read pro-Trump newsletter that there is. And if you're not getting it, you're making a big mistake. All you have to do is go to 47report.com, put your email address, and starting tomorrow, you're going to get the 47 Report and DML Report newsletters in your inbox. And our open rate, as the AI system told me over the weekend, because I was doing some stuff on AI, your open rate is off the charts. Well, there you go. So 47report.com, you'll get it every morning starting tomorrow. All right, that's it for us. We appreciate you being with us. If you want to help support the show, go to dmlcbd.com/mug, M-U-G, dmlcbd.com/mug. It is our new Life After 50 podcast. I do it on weekends. Denny just had the last episode for season 1. For the first season, what we did is we interviewed people and who are 50 and over, and just they went back on their lives, gave their expertise. And I mean, some of the stories that we had were just insanely great. I've gotten so much good feedback on it. Our next version of Life After 50, which will be about another month and a half out, season 2, will be more of myself and my boys navigating you through some of the things that I've done over my career that we filmed, and yet it never had a place to go. Not a documentary, not anything else, but stuff that would just be amazing from all over the country. So that will be what season 2 of Life After 50 is. So if you want to help us, because we don't do advertising on this show or anything like that, just go to dmlcbd.com/mug, M-U-G. Use code LIFE at checkout. You'll get free shipping and $2 off the mug. All right, that's it for us. On behalf of Ryan on the controls and Denny sitting across from me, we appreciate your time. We know there's a lot of people you could listen to, and you decide to listen to us, and that makes us feel all proud and tingly inside. So until tomorrow, God willing, please, may he bless you and your family, President Trump, Vice President Vance, and these United States.
Today's Team DML blessing goes out to Ernest Davidson, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right. Enjoy your Erin Go Bra.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.